Good evening, Vancouver, and welcome back to Canucks After Dark, April 25th, the final Canucks After Dark of the 2021-2022 season, unless the 0.1% chance comes to fruition, which seems unlikely. So this is likely it for the year. Clay, as always, my co-host, how are you doing?
I'm great, Parker. I am even as the eternal optimist, it's not looking good, but I'm happy to be here with you back to our regular Monday night after a 1 week break to Tuesday. But that 1 week break means I think we have one less game to talk about this week, I think.
Yes, only two devastating losses for the Vancouver
With
Canucks
identical
in the last
scores,
week.
right?
Identical 6-3 scores. But hey, we'll get to those. And you'll get to those because I don't remember either of them. Yeah, it's and then there's three more games and they're done. So we'll preview those three. We'll give our thoughts on what's going to happen, which obviously isn't that important, but it could be if everyone else loses and the Canucks win every game, like a 1% chance, which would be cool, but probably not happening. Some other topics, Bruce Boudreau, Luke Shen, Quinn Hughes, some names to throw in there and get working in your guys' brains. Clay, should we start off going over these two rough Canucks games from this past week?
Yeah, I'm pulling these up right now to refresh my memory. Oh, yes. I remember the first one. It was Vancouver. It was Minnesota. It was on Thursday night, April the 21st. And guess what, Parker? We actually held the lead in this game. It was very brief, but no goals in the first period. Then it goes Fiala for them, Pettersson for us, his 30th goal of the season. Spurgeon for them, Highmore for us. Okay, it's 2-2. Then Pettersson with his 31st, his second of the game. Awesome. But then 2 minutes after that, Zuccarello scores for Minnesota, and then we're going 3-3 into the third. So this is exciting. We are right in the midst of it. And then boom, Fiala, Kaprizov, and then Hartman. 6-3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was this is one of those weird ones where the Canucks were actually the better team, I thought.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was a different game. And the first two periods.
They're good.
The first two periods, they were the better team. And the third period, they didn't show up. They got outshot 15-4 in the third period. Goaltending didn't do the Canucks many favors in this one. Demko, a bit of an off night, which we kind of expected anyways, based on how last week went. And that was sort of the set. That was probably the third or fourth time that the Canucks' hopes were dashed this season of making the playoffs, right? There was the beginning of the season. There was the losses to like Buffalo or Detroit and Buffalo, I think it was a few weeks back. And then there was this one. And it's just sort of, once again, they got close-ish and then they lost it at the last possible moment with, of course, the Senators game before that as well.
Yes.
They had to win out coming into this one.
Yeah.
They lost it. That basically did it. And then again, they still had to win out and then hope for a bunch of other stuff to happen as they went into Calgary, which was on Saturday.
Yeah. Just before we get to that, sorry, Parker, I just want to say, I think you and I would agree. Minnesota is a good team with Kaprizov and Zuccarello and Hartman and Fiala. But the thing is, everyone was talking about how Myers and Ekman-Larsson were actually playing really well, which they were. But this game, they were really exposed. 2-on-1s, bad pinches, bad speed. Tyler Myers doing his lay down to break up a 2-on-1. They were both -3, and then the top line of Podkolzin, Miller, and Chason were combined -8 as well. So it was not a good showing for many. And you're right, even Demko. And this is, I know we're going to talk about this when we talk about goaltending, but I think we're starting to see the fatigue, and that carried over to the next game, I think, as well.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. If we look at expected goals by defensive pairing, honestly, Ekman-Larsson and Myers, they were still a positive on the night in that game.
Oh,
wow. Dermott and Hunt were at like 87%, it looks like. And then Hughes and Shen basically went even. That's at 5-on-5, though. That might be the issue.
Right. Oh, okay.
It doesn't let me go to all situations. Now it does. Ekman-Larsson around the 40% mark, Myers around the 50% mark.
Okay.
Worst on the night was Brad Richardson at 6%. But hey, everyone has some bad games.
Isn't bad already like 30 or 40%?
So his expected goals for were 0.02 and expected against for 0.35. So it's just such a low sample size. But that's okay. But yeah, a game that the Canucks won the expected goals battle, and that was 3.2 to 2.8. And keep in mind that 3.2, 0.7 of that came from the empty netter.
Okay.
So basically 3.2 to 2.2. So a whole expected goal more, but Demko allows 5. And the Canucks get their 3 that they were expected to get. But they lose that one, unfortunately.
Were you pretty hopeful before this game?
Not really.
Okay.
Minnesota just feels like one of those teams. I didn't expect too much going into it. They made it interesting going into the third, but I wasn't too surprised at the result.
Okay.
We go on to Saturday. Canucks go into Calgary and they just get lit up again. I didn't watch this game, so this one's all you.
Okay, this game was a bit maddening for a couple of reasons, Parker. You may have heard about this. Check this out. Lindholm opens this. So again, a scoreless first period. So almost not a carbon copy, but very similar to Minnesota. But then check this out. Lindholm scores a power play goal. And then 16 seconds later, win the faceoff, turn the puck over. 16 seconds later, Dubé scores, and then Hughes scores. So 2-1. Connor Garland scores to make it 2-2. And then 14 seconds later, Calgary takes the lead again, 3-2. Okay. And then they go up 4-2. And then 12 seconds later after that, Calgary scores again. So Calgary scored 16, 14, and 12 seconds after goals, whether they're Canucks or Calgary goals. So that tells me there's a lack of sharpness, both mentally and physically, and fatigue for sure. And it just Calgary's just as good as Minnesota. They're another 100-point team, and these are the type of teams that are going to be battling in the playoffs. And further proof the Canucks simply, as much as we love them, simply aren't there yet.
Yeah, and you look at the last goal too, the Boudreau goal, which I imagine was an empty netter.
Yes.
Was that 46 seconds after the Elias Pettersson goal? So
you're right.
They were just they were streaky. Every single one of their goals came right after another one, basically.
Yeah.
I didn't know Lindholm was a 40 goal scorer though. That's pretty crazy.
And you know what's crazy? That what's funny, Park. Well, it's not that funny because we're Canucks fans. At the first intermission, it was Friedman, Jennifer Boudreau, David Amber, and I can't remember Kelly Hrudey. And they were talking about how good that top line of Tkachuk, Boudreau, and Lindholm was. And they were basically saying Lindholm's been on 39 goals for a long time. He's got to get 40 by the end of the season. And then sure enough, 2 minutes into the period, he scores. And then he actually looks up. Yeah, I would look up to the sky for that long if I got like 2 goals in my roller hockey league, but he was doing it like it was unexpected. He was waiting for 40 years as opposed to whatever. So, but good on them. They're a good team, and I think they're Canada's. If you're into this, I give them more chance than Toronto to advance in the playoffs, given Toronto's tough division.
Yeah, so Calgary's going to likely have the first wild card, which will probably be either Dallas or Nashville.
Right.
I would say I like their odds there, especially when Toronto's probably going to be going against Tampa, and that's a much tougher opponent. I don't subscribe to that really. I don't care about the Canadian teams per se.
Ditto.
I'd much rather watch Colorado go on a run or like Florida, some really sort of fun, high flying team, or Toronto, even not because they're Canadian, not because I like them, because I don't. But man, they're fun to watch.
Yes.
So that's what I'm rooting for.
No, that's totally fair. So a couple of highlights: Quinn Hughes with 2 points. I know we're going to talk about him. JT Miller, another 3 assists, a very quiet 3 assists actually. And then PD with another goal. Garland. So Garland actually had a pretty sweet goal. I'm not sure if you saw the highlights. He slid in and then he batted out of the air.
Yeah, from behind the net, basically.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. But then another sub 875 save percentage game for Demko. So yeah, I know we're gonna talk about that too. But he's getting tired. Can only do so much.
Yeah,
can only do so much.
So 3 games on the calendar this week. The final 3 games of the season.
Yeah,
and you know what? If it's only 3 games of the year that ended up not mattering, that's pretty good.
Yeah, got to game number 80 and we're still in it. Technically, that is good.
Yeah, I mean, let's say 79 because they were actually kind of in it. But yeah, no, that's it's been a good ride at the very least. So Tuesday, the second to last home game, Seattle in Vancouver, could be a nice way to end on a win a little bit here.
Yeah.
Because Seattle, as a team they should beat or I won't say 9 times out of 10 because no one wins 9 times out of 10 in the NHL, but 7 times out of 10, I would say. Anything you're
Yeah.
looking forward to about this one?
Yeah, well, I am, because I'm getting treated to a game by one of our fans. I'm not. Can I out him? Yeah, I can out him. Justin's going to bring me the game tomorrow, so I'm very happy about that.
Nice.
It happens to be a non-bowling night, so it works out really well. So thank you, Justin. And Parker, can I take 45 seconds to just educate our viewers, just in case they're not sure how the Canucks can still make the playoffs? Do you mind if I take those 45 seconds?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, brother. Okay, guys, 4 things have to happen. Number 1, Canucks win all 3 games. Seattle, LA, Edmonton. So no problem. Number 2, Vegas has to beat Dallas tomorrow night, but in regulation. Dallas can't get a point. Number 3, Vegas then has to go on to lose no points to Chicago and St. Louis. And number 4, Dallas then has to go on to lose to Arizona and Anaheim. If all 4 of those things happen, Canucks are playing in May. There we go.
Yeah. The Athletic does have the Vancouver Canucks at a 0% chance. I will say,
because they round down, right?
Yeah. Money Puck has the Canucks at a 0.1% chance. But if the Canucks win their next game, it goes up to 0.13.
0.13.
Yes. So 13 in 1,000. Nope. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. 13 in 10,000.
Yes. Because we're on the other side of the decimal point.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
So that's not great.
I'm not feeling so good anymore.
No, it's not going to happen. But it's fun to think about a little bit. So that game, I don't know. I might show up. We'll see tomorrow.
Oh, Jessica brought you. Okay.
Yeah. How cheap tickets are.
Let me know if you're there, and we'll do something fun.
Sure. Thursday, the final game, Kings, Canucks. One we were hoping would be important. It's not. Kings have all but sealed their spot, 99.5% chance of making the playoffs, so they are in.
Do you like the Kings team, Parker? Like, do you like their mix of youth and da-da-da?
Yeah, they're better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
Their goal differential of 2 scares me a little bit. For them, the Canucks have a better goal differential at 10. But they've gotten blown out a handful of times and won a lot of close games, and it worked out for them. Don't know how sustainable it is going into the playoffs. I mean, being able to win out tight games is important. They'll probably be taking, or they will be taking on Edmonton, a team that can blow things wide open. This will be fun because next week we get to preview playoff matchups, which is definitely exciting. Because the playoffs start next Monday, which is exciting.
Oh yeah, we can easily fill an hour show because we got 8 series to talk about. 5 minutes each, 6 minutes each. Boom, done.
Sweet. Our jobs get easier. So this game, final game at Rogers Arena for the year, completely meaningless. The Kings will have maybe something in it. They're fighting for home ice against the Oilers. It's not looking great for them. But they are at least in the mix to have a shot at it. They're 2 points back. Oilers have a game in hand. And then on Friday, the Canucks do play against the Oilers. So chance to maybe play a little bit of spoiler here again in just seeding, but not really. If the Canucks lose to the Kings on Thursday, then beat the Oilers on Friday, then that could move the Kings up and overtake them. But I mean, I don't think they're going to really care too much about that. And that's it. 79 down, 3 to go. A chance to go true 500 if the Canucks win out. They could get 41 wins on the year. And that would take them up to 93 points, which would be a pretty respectable year.
So, Parker, when I say to you, obviously we know that the Canucks were 8-15-2 under Green. And then I say to you that under Boudreau, they are 30-15-9. So 15 games over 500. Crunch the numbers, 638 winning points percentage would put them out 12th or 13th in the league. So not top 10. That just shows you how good teams are. But it does show you that the Canucks are easily a playoff team at 15 games over 500 because that's 97 points extrapolated. Good season, bad season, salvage season. What's your gut? I know we're gonna do a postmortem next week, but what's your gut feeling overall?
Um, it's a season that, I mean, they were just too far out from the start.
Yeah.
Again, I think so much went right in the latter 54 games at this point, right? I think if you run this back 5 times or 10, let's say you run it back 10 times, put the Canucks at 8-15-2 and run it back 10 times, I don't think they do that well 8 of those
Mm.
10 times. I think a lot had to go their way. They had a couple crazy hot streaks. Um, and just the odds, you don't, it's just so rare that a team goes from, terrible to, top 11 in the league, top 12 in the league, right?
Yeah.
So I worry a little bit that um, we overvalue these last few months and undervalue the first ones because those still happened. They were still the same players, right?
Mm.
Because there's a lot of people who are like, well, if we hired Boudreau a month earlier, maybe they make it. Maybe they do. But what does that mean for next year, right? Because they have to
Right.
go out and play 82 games, not 57 at that pace. Who knows if the Canucks had 20 more games, maybe they lose a big chunk of them, right? It's totally possible. So I think they're going to end up kind of where we expected them to, a little bit below where we expected them to, in just the weirdest way possible.
Yeah.
But I think that's really because they probably overperformed a bit over the last little while.
That's a really good point, Parker, because a lot of people, myself included, been saying, "Oh, well, let's give them a full season, a full training camp under Boudreau, and who knows how good they're going to be." But I like what you said. You kind of took the other side of it and saying, "Yeah, but maybe a couple of these win streaks, especially that first one, kind of mask or artificially inflate the numbers. So maybe we are a 90, 92, 94 point team." That's interesting take, and I actually I like it. I think it's a good take.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying they're not a playoff team. I think they probably are.
Yeah.
Um, I also just think that they're not a contender though, right?
Yeah.
And even you
Yeah.
said it. This amazing run they've been on, you said it would be what, good for 12th in the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
How often does the 12th best team in the league win the Stanley Cup? It's not very
Yeah.
often, right? It's usually the top 4 that are sort of in the mix by the end of it. And there's usually, one dark horse that sneaks through, but you remember you're picking that one dark horse out of like those other 12 teams. So
Yes.
it's, your odds just are way better if you are a better team. Um, so I think they're in for some changes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some excitement. But yeah, I think they probably underperformed heavily at the start, overperformed a little bit the rest of the way, and ended up probably a little bit below where their true talent might be, just because they got sunk so hard from the beginning.
Yep. As always, you make some really good points. Would it be different if we had a full Horvat, a Pearson, a Huglander in our roster the last 3 weeks? Maybe. Yeah, and we were missing Besser for 5 games there. So, but every team goes through injuries, and the Canucks will never make those kind of excuses. But it's always, I just hate, Parker, how we're always playing the what if game. What if? And last year was a dog's breakfast with the Canadian division, but still, aside from the bubble in the last 7 years, it's been a lot of what if.
Yeah, and it's because they can't make it. So you have
Yep.
to play the what if game because there's no circumstance that they've actually done it, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yep.
So 3 games to go. One
Yeah.
thing that you brought up that we should talk about is the goaltending.
Yeah.
I honestly, if I'm picking, I don't think Thatcher Demko should see the ice again for the rest of the season.
Wow. Now that's a hot take. We should have a new. If we don't have "Don't do that," we have "Don't say that." No, it's not "Don't say that." Tell me. Explain, man. Explain, wise man.
He's clearly, or sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. He's clearly tired.
Yep.
He was battling illness less than a week ago. I mean, we saw the video of him throwing up over the boards. We've seen him play 2 pretty bad games. The Canucks now have Spencer Knight called up. Halak's done, right? He's not coming back. And you have your guy who's going to be your backup goalie next year, who ideally should be getting games in Abbotsford to prep for this playoff run that they're about to go on. I say, it's sort of twofold. You get to see your backup for next year, give him a few more games, give him a few more starts. You get him in game ready shape, keep him, getting reps at the NHL level. Maybe the AHL looks a little bit easier after facing some NHL talent. And I just honestly, for me, it's mostly like, I mean, how many games did Demko play in this year? Like 60?
65?
He's 64. He's appeared in 64 out of 79 games this year. Guy needs a break. Like he put him a 915 this year, 272 goals against average, and keep in mind that was against a really bad team at the start of the season, or in front of one. I think you just let him take the nights off, and just say, hey, get rested, get an extra week of your off season, basically, and then that way, Canucks last game's on the 30th, May 1st. Get on your plane to Cabo and take a nice break because he deserves it. If anyone deserves it, it's Demko. You have nothing to gain from winning these 3 games. You also have nothing to lose from losing them or gain from losing them. You're not going to go up any draft positions, probably, unless the Jets jumped up enough, but then that's one spot, whatever. So just put in Martin. He might be fantastic again, and that's a fun story for the rest of the season. But I mean, do we really want to see Demko going out there and potentially struggling, putting up an 890 for the last 3 games, and just getting extra work when it doesn't affect the future of the team at all?
So I have time for everything you said, but I have 2 questions for you. Does that mean you're playing Martin back-to-back Thursday, Friday? Or are you giving Demko one of those? And do you give Demko one of the 2 home games? Not that he cares. He's obviously our goalie for the next 4 seasons. So I don't think the end of the season is going to make a big difference. But do you treat the home fans to one more Demko appearance this week? So those are my 2 questions for you.
Yeah, I did forget about the back-to-back. If that wasn't the case, then I'd stick with that. I think it makes sense then to maybe give Demko the Kings game just because it is the home game.
I agree.
And then play Martin in Edmonton on Friday.
Yep.
I think that's probably the best scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably don't play Martin for both. Well, I guess you could, but see how one of the games goes. But yeah, I think it would make the most sense. I bet they go. The Canucks are technically not eliminated yet, so maybe they play Demko tomorrow, although they could be effectively eliminated by then because that Vegas and Dallas game's at 5:30.
Right, it's first.
So there could be enough of a score differential that it's done, and it is done. 1 in 1,000 isn't worth playing Demko if he doesn't need to play. So I'd like to see Martin in net tomorrow. I think there's really no downside to it.
So you'd go Martin, Demko, Martin.
Yeah, that seems fine to me.
Okay. I'm with you. I have a feeling they might go Demko, Martin. Only because and there was a 3 days or not between. They didn't play since Saturday as opposed to Sunday. So there's an extra day in there. We'll see. But not surprised either way. That's good.
Yeah, I expect it to be Demko tomorrow, but I'd play Martin personally.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Speaking of the games, these next 2 games, tomorrow is the Black Skate. One last skate in that. They knew they had to do something to sell some tickets now that they're not making the playoffs. So they're trying to do some little fan appreciation.
I never thought about that. Do you think that's what it is?
It's good PR. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just makes a lot of sense.
Right.
I don't know if they're doing it. They only said they're doing it for the one. I think they not the Thursday game. I guess just the Tuesday one. Which seems kind of weird. I think you just run them for both, but that'll be fun. It'll look good. Spencer Martin will look good in the Black Skate. And, I think it might give it a little bit of a jump, but I think it's just fun little bit of style.
Maybe on Thursday when they do jersey off their back, they don't want it to be a Black Skate jersey. They want it to be not because they don't want to give them away, but
so much more money for them though.
Yeah, that's true. But although isn't the rumor that that's going to be our 3rd next year?
Maybe, and I would be great. I like the 3rd right now, but it's so similar to the main one that it's the exact same colors without the white trim and a different logo. So that would be fun. But
we're speaking Lucas's language. Thank you, Lucas, for the donation. We appreciate it. We didn't do that on purpose, but thank you for their support as always. And Lucas says scoop because Lucas does work for the team. I honestly believe the skate will be moved to the third jersey, getting a funny, all caps funny feeling that may be happening. Love it. Thank you, Lucas, for the scoop, and thank you for the support as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so that will be fun.
Parker, we better get to this because Jaskin's asked it like 3 times, and he's your biggest fan. So, where is this video of Demko throwing up? He says,
I saw it on Twitter. Like,
me too.
A week ago. I'm sure if you do some Twitter sleuthing, you can find it.
Yeah, but Jaskin, type in Demko throwing up, but then like Demko throwing up will be in your search results for the next couple of weeks. But that's up to you.
Yeah. Good luck. All right. So that's that. Our next Canucks topic is Quinn Hughes going for the record. He's tied it, 63 points. What are your odds that he doesn't hit it?
The odds that he doesn't hit it, 4%.
I think the Canucks are almost more likely to make the playoffs than he misses it. I like they're unless the Canucks get like shut out in 2 of these games, I guess, knock on wood. Right. I genuinely think he's just too good, and he's playing the power. Like it's just going to happen. Which is exciting. It'll be cool. It'll be the fact he's basically already the best defenseman in franchise history. And he's 22 years old, something dumb like that. So that's pretty cool.
I think I saw the stat, Parker, of all-time points for Canucks defenseman, and he's already like 12th or something.
That's excellent. I'm gonna pull that list up here.
Yeah,
defenseman all-time leaders. He is 13th.
Okay.
He is 3 behind Doug Hallward.
So he could pass Hallward by the end of this season, and then who's next after that?
Snaps is after that. Kevin McCarthy, Rick Lands.
Just go all the way up now. Yeah, this is here.
By next season, by the end of next season, if he puts up, let's say 2 more points this season, and then he gets 65 next season. Yeah. So 65 this year and next year, he would get up to 9th. And then if he did that again the year after, he would get up to 6th. Yeah. I mean, 409 is the record.
And he's at
160. If this
he's almost half. Yeah, he's getting there half. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he needs about 240 points. So in like 5 years, he's there.
5 seasons.
By the time he's 27.
So even before his contract ends, he's there.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
And it took Edler 925 games to get there.
Wow.
And at this pace, Hughes would get there at about 450, 500.
At the end, Parker, of this, if we're looking for more filler, I forgot to mention we can quickly do our Canucks awards that they'll award on Thursday. But isn't it? I basically said in my vlog today, as long as Quinn Hughes is playing here, he's going to win the best defenseman of the year every year.
Yeah, no, it's not close. He's the best defenseman on the team. And it's not close. Speaking of trophies, though, Luke Schenn, Canucks nominee for the Masterton Trophy.
Yes.
I don't know if they had any like obvious picks for this one, but they went with Schenn based on, he was sort of like close to being a full-time AHLer just a couple of years ago. Went over and sort of won 2 Stanley Cups as sort of a 6'7" guy. And now is really carved out a spot playing, I don't know, what does he play, like 18 minutes a night for the Canucks, which is pretty good. What's his average ice time? This doesn't tell you.
Well, as you look it up, the Masterton Trophy is awarded for perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication. So oftentimes you'll get guys that come back from major injuries or cancer scares or family trauma. And Luke Schenn respectfully hasn't gone through any of those things, but he was, like Parker said, he was almost out of the league just 2-3 short seasons ago. Yeah. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome
17 minutes a night. It's pretty good.
Yeah, very good.
And 15 points. That's fine for a defenseman. I guess when you're playing with Quinn Hughes, though, you probably get a few secondary assists in there every once in a while.
Good contract too.
Yep, great contract for next year.
Yep.
Then we have Bruce Boudreau. This is sort of the bigger topic. This is one that we talked about 2 weeks ago, I think. Mm-hmm. About Boudreau's rumored to I think basically Alvin was asked about, and he wasn't too like enthusiastic. And then we heard the rumors of, well, they want their own guy. They don't think Boudreau has like the structure and all this stuff, and won't have any success, like deep playoff success. Um, I don't know how much of this, and I guess, and now we had Dollywall and Drance both saying sort of that they're hearing that it seems likely that they'll get something figured out. Um, I mean, how much of it is they genuinely think he's the best coach available, which I think he probably is. I think if he doesn't get picked up, or if the Canucks don't pick him up, I mean, there's so many places that would take him, right? There's going to be quite a few coaching vacancies available in the off
Yes.
season that they'd be lining up. Like, I mean, Vegas, right? Like, do you think Vegas? I feel like Vegas is first in line if Boudreau is available. This whole DeBoer and Leonard thing is pretty wild. They're going to miss the playoffs, very likely. So they seem like the clear front runner, and that's terrible for the Canucks if he goes to them, and that's likely another playoff spot scooped up. It seems like it would be really, really risky for this management group, this brand new management group that has done nothing yet, really, to go out and get rid of this coach that has a catchphrase and has been the most successful part of the season. It seems like you're really putting a lot of risk there if you don't bring him back.
I agree. And Justin took the words right out of my mouth. Bruce will come back unless Bruce wants to go elsewhere for a better gig. It's a PR nightmare if the Canucks let him go. And I agree with that because you're right, Parker. Not only is he the best coach for our situation, but I think they do have to consider the PR a little bit after the disaster, the last 2 years, Dog's Breakfast of a couple of years. So, not the biggest factor, but I think it is a factor, quite frankly, the PR.
Yeah. So the other factor of it is, if I heard correctly, I mean, we heard before it was a team option. I've heard, I've seen people say it's a team and his option, like they both can agree. I mean, Boudreau's earned a raise, right? Like if he was, I don't know, maybe it was a $2 million deal. I don't think we know the specifics of it, but I mean, he can easily come back to the Canucks and say, look, I deserve to be paid as one of the top coaches in the NHL because that's what every other team would pay me right now. Right. I could go to Vegas and ask for $4 or $5 million a year and they want to win. They want to make the playoffs and they'd probably give that to him. Or a team like, I don't know, Winnipeg or whoever's looking for a coach. So it just seems like, that could be one factor, whether, he wants to get paid more. It doesn't seem like the place that that this team should be penny pinching though, because if he wants an extra $2 million, that's one playoff game of revenue. If you think it helps you make the playoffs, that is very, very worth it for the ownership at the very least.
Great point about the revenue in the playoffs. Great point about the PR that we talked about. Great point about we go back to a full season, whether that's good or bad. So yeah, all signs, and the fact that guys like Dollywall and Drance, as you said, Parker, are now not changing their tune, but at least reporting with a tiny bit more confidence that at least, as you said, it's likely to happen. I think in a good way, where there's smoke, there's fire in this case. And I expect them to announce it soon, because you are right. Not only the teams that have interim coaches right now, but imagine a Toronto gets bounced. Imagine Vegas, whether or not they make it and get bounced. There's so many prime opportunities for Boudreau if he wants to go to a team that's further along in their contention window. Yeah.
Well, hopefully he's back. I think we're both on that train.
Yes.
I think we're both rooting for one more kick at the can for Bruce. Gave it a heck of a run over the last few months here. Any other stuff you want to talk about on Boudreau?
It's just funny. I think it was in his press conference today, Parker, where they outlined what has to happen, or they didn't have to outline it. Boudreau knows all this, right? He scoreboard watches, and he was about to say about the Canucks playoff chances. Well, stranger things have happened, but he actually caught himself and he goes, I actually don't think stranger things have happened than what's going to happen if we make it. That just speaks to how low the percentages are.
Yeah, it will be wild. Our last Canucks related topic, three 30-goal scorers. I think it's the first time, was it since what, 09, 10? No, it's the first time it was like 94, 95, and then 09, 10 was really close, I think,
Yeah.
because they had like two guys at 29.
Mhm.
For a team that has three 30-goal scorers and not make the playoffs is rough. It is a year where scoring is up in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have Pettersson, they have Miller, and they have Horvat all hitting the 30-goal mark, which is awesome. It's just unfortunate that that doesn't get carried forward and actually mean much. What it does mean is that contract for Pettersson's looking tough in a couple of years.
Yep.
Horvat is going to get a decent chunk of change, and JT Miller's trade value is hopefully really high.
Yes, all good points. You know what else it tells us, Parker, is that if we ever, and I think we should, go back to our pre-season bets, like on another show when we do that. I think we overshot everyone's point totals except for JT Miller.
That's probably correct. Unfortunately, that's probably 100% accurate.
Oh man,
We gave it a good shot, though.
we were
You
very
know,
optimistic.
we tried really hard.
Yeah,
We thought this team was going to be a 99-point team,
We did.
somewhere around there, which means they would have had to win about 4 or 5 more games. And that's, probably an extra 8 goals,
Yep,
probably still a little high. But we were excited.
we were excited. I'm dreading revisiting those, and I even if one of us technically beat the other in terms of maybe we got one more right than the other guy, not a win for
No,
either of
but
us.
we'll see how we do against the viewers. That's the
Okay,
key.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Hopefully we can take them down.
Okay, sounds good.
My last topic on my list here
Mm.
is the just amazing collapse of the Vegas Golden Knights. What is happening there is pretty fun. Jack Eichel joins the team, and that has not worked. They have you seen all the stuff about their goaltending this last few days?
Yeah, I haven't been following it completely closely. I just know there's some serious miscommunication problems right now.
So Jesse Granger is sort of the man on the ground. He's the
Yeah,
athletic
Vegas
person
guy, right?
for Vegas.
Yeah.
So he tweeted out a few days ago, I think Friday night maybe, that
Mhm.
that Robin Leonard is getting season-ending surgery and is done for the year. The press asks Peter DeBoer about it at his press conference shortly after, and he says, "I know nothing of this. He will be playing, or he'll be dressed on Sunday." Sunday rolls around. Um, Jesse Granger still is saying, like, yeah, he's getting season-ending surgery. Everyone's like, what is going on? Everyone's making like really silly tweets about it, because it's just odd. Then Sunday's game rolls around last night. Leonard's on the bench in this crucial must-win game against San Jose, and Logan Thompson is in net. And then they lose. And now this morning, the Vegas Golden Knights put out a statement saying that Robin Leonard's getting season-ending surgery and is done for the year. So some weird there's something in the water when it comes to goaltending in Vegas. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know if it's just a Pete DeBoer thing. We had the drama with Fleury, with the sword in the back from Alan Walsh.
Yeah.
They sort of end up pushing Fleury out the door. Now it looks like they're pushing Leonard out the door because, I mean, it looked like he's had such a bad relationship with Leonard. It looks like where it sort of culminated, I think, last week. He allowed a goal to make a game 1-1,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
got
yeah.
pulled. And so Leonard, I think what happened is Leonard was sort of like, well, why am I putting my body? I'm hurt. You're trash talking me in press conferences as my coach. You're pulling me when I allow a single goal. Why am I like, I'm just going to go get my surgery because I need it, and I'm not going to play injured. So this is a team that is trying desperately to get in the playoffs, and even if they somehow miraculously do, if they win out and make the playoffs, they're not going to have a starting goalie. So they're basically just done, which is kind of great.
There is so much to unpack, Parker. You did a really good job of doing so. Fans hate Vegas because they've made the playoffs every single year. In fact, almost winning the cup in their first year. Fans hate Vegas because they're the team that eliminated the Canucks in the bubble 2 seasons ago. They hate the way they treat star players like Fleury and the way they go for the next shiny toy. The way I didn't say circumvented the cap like Tampa did, but they've been creative with their cap. Bring Jack Eichel over. Nothing's happened so far. All these things. And Leonard himself. Leonard, we have to remember that he's been very open with his mental health struggles, and he's very, very transparent in the media. So it's like, not that you want to do this to any goalie, but he's probably the one goalie you don't want to do this kind of stuff to. So there's all these things. And then to have their playoff chances basically get wrecked by the team that took them out a few years ago in that magic game 7, coming down from 3-0, the San Jose Sharks with 1 second left, less than a second left. It's crazy. You can't make that stuff up. Honestly, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah. And Vegas got a power play in overtime. Couldn't capitalize. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely crazy. And there seems, it seems that people just don't like DeBoer, at least in some sense. That whole organization does seem to be very, not focused on morale, I guess. You know, and we saw it sort of day one, right? There was the Shipachev. I don't remember how you pronounce his name, but like they brought him in. He was there for a week. He's like, I'm going back to Russia. Like, I don't want to deal with this. And it seems that they're very just like, yeah, we're Vegas. If you want to play here, we're trying to win. They're like trying to be the New England Patriots, that sort of style where they're like, yeah, it's going to be, we're not going to have a lot of fun, but we're going to win. They're just doing that without having the Stanley Cup championships to back it up, like the Patriots do with their Super Bowls. And it just
Dadonov too. Dadonov.
Yeah. All these examples, right? It just, you know, and then they go out and they're like, hey, we're going to spend all these big bucks on Mark Stone and Jack Eichel. And it just seems to sort of tear this team apart that started off as this island of misfit toys. And now they don't work as well together. I mean, on paper, they're a phenomenally skilled team, and they just have choked at the most inopportune moment. You know, I mean, they lost to the Devils, you know, a week ago. You know, we talk about how the Canucks, you know, those losses that they're like, oh, they're so close, and they went and lost to the Devils, or they went and lost to the Red Wings or whatever. Golden Knights are doing the same thing, right? They lost to the Canucks in overtime 2 weeks ago. They lost to the Canucks in regulation the week before that. They lose to New Jersey. They lose to San Jose yesterday. They lose to Edmonton last week. They've just completely fallen apart. It's good to see.
And just as we started this Vegas diatribe, actually Lucas got in with a second donation of the night. If you can find it, Parker. I don't even know what this means. The lost wages copper chokers.
Yeah, it's Las Vegas, lost wages, and then golden is copper because it's not good enough. I think we are throwing stones from a glass house a little bit, but it is fun nonetheless. I hope I hope none of our Vegas folks are in here.
And Lucas, but if you're donating, you can say whatever you want, basically. So thank you again, Lucas.
True, preach. So yeah, that's my story. I'm just rooting for. I guess, you know, if the Stars win tomorrow, that's basically it for Vegas, right? Like
correct.
Here that says if they lose in regulation, their odds go to 0. If they lose in OT, they go down to 3%. So yeah, if Dallas wins in regulation tomorrow, that is it for the Vegas Golden Knights.
5 points up. You got it.
Yeah.
So Parker, before we go to the people, can I put you on the spot and get your picks for the Canucks award winners? They're not too difficult, but I would just off the top of your head, best defenseman we've already talked about. Who would be your runner up though, behind Quinn Hughes?
Behind Quinn Hughes?
Yeah.
That one's tough.
Yeah.
Because you could go with Luke Shen for fun. You could go Ekman Larson.
Yeah.
You could go Tyler Myers. who's had a real big turnaround. I don't know. I think I probably would go Ekman Larson.
Me too. He actually has 9 more points than Meyer. It's not just about points, but I just think Ekman Larson has had a tiny bit better season. So we agree. Hughes as our best defenseman and OEL as our runner-up. Give me your MVP.
The MVP, I think it's JT Miller. I think Demko will get a lot of votes. Fairly. I think Pettersson will get a handful of votes. I think Hughes might get some votes. But I mean, we're talking about a 100-point player here. And I think it's the pretty simple choice to me.
And then your runner-up is
Demko.
Yeah, so I'm opposite. I still think Demko done enough to be our team's MVP, but I would have no problem if Miller won it, and Miller is my runner-up. So I'm just reversed of you, but the same 2 guys. Okay, give me your most exciting player.
Most exciting player. I think it's Elias Pettersson.
Agreed.
And he's just so good. I could again see it going to Quinn Hughes or even Podkolzin because he's the fun new guy. But I think it's Elias Pettersson, especially this latter half of the year, which I think is what most people will think towards. But he has been he's been Quinn Hughes, or sorry, he's been Elias Pettersson. He's been absolutely electric, just making outstanding moves on people, scoring a bunch of goals, hitting the 30 goal mark after not doing anything for 40 games. That itself deserves it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think recency bias is going to come into play, and you could argue he's had a better last 2 months of the season than Miller, although Miller had a better 3 months, obviously, at the start. So I think it will be PD as well. And even if you line them up, even if they're the exact same points, Parker, I think PD is a more exciting player to watch, whether it's the way he rips that shot, with the way he back checks. He actually Miller's fine, but I think he's just more of an exciting player. So I'm going PD and I'm going Miller as my runner-up and Garland as a dark horse for this one. How about you?
Yeah, I was thinking Garland as a third. Just because he is just the spins. Very exciting.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I know where you're going with this one. Unsung hero.
Oh, I have nothing in my head here.
Oh,
where are you thinking?
I'm going Luke Shen for this one. Because
I think that's the easy choice.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty fair. There's no one else really coming to my mind. If the Canucks had made the playoffs, Spencer Martin. No, I don't know. I think Luke Shen's the easy choice, although I think he has been pretty sung this season. True. I think it was what Mott last year.
It was,
which is also which was fair. Obviously, he can't get it this year. I think it probably will be Luke Shen though.
Yeah, and when you think about whatever definition you want to use, he's not he's not flashy or gets the pub of Hughes or Ekman Larson on the back end. Obviously, not a top 6 forward. So good contract, very cheap, $850,000, tough hits, fights. To me, that screams unsung to me. So here's my runner-up for this one, Vasily Podkolzin. He's my unsung hero because he doesn't get the same pub as the top 6. Yet he's put together a pretty strong rookie season. He's not afraid to stand up for his teammates. So, and he's quite a fan favorite. So he's my runner-up for unsung.
Yeah, I think he'll get a handful of votes. I genuinely do. I mean, he got 26 points so far this year. He might hit 30. He'll get close to 30, 26, 27, 28, somewhere in there. And again, didn't have the hottest start, right? He's really just gotten better and better as the year's gone on. He'll be an exciting piece going forward for sure.
Yeah. Remember our little, we had not even a debate because we were both talking both sides of it, but I know I was a big advocate of that Podkolzin to have a better season than Höglander, but not because I'm not saying, I'm so smart because Höglander got injured, but it's just kind of fascinating who were fancy to be more high about, but maybe that makes sense considering he was first rounder, Höglander was second rounder, but Höglander just started 1 year earlier. So whatever, I want both of them to do well on cheap contracts for another year.
Yeah, I'm trying to find our predictions thing because I wanted to pull it up and be like, Yeah, of course you thought he was going to be better, but your numbers were so much higher or something. Let's see. You had. Do I have Hoaglander? Oh, I don't think we did Hoaglander, and we
But
definitely would have done.
I had 40 for Podkolzin, I'm pretty sure.
I
Get
can't find
26.
them. Oh yeah,
Okay.
you did have 40 for Podkolzin.
Yeah.
And I don't think we had Hoaglander on the list.
Okay.
That was a mistake on my part. Unfortunate. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Someone asked, they would never have a team award for this, but most disappointing player. It might be Pullman for me. I feel bad saying it. Oh, that's interesting. Edmund says Ham.
I thought this was the question you were referencing.
No, that's fine. No, that's great. It's perfect. It's what we're talking about.
So most disappointing.
Yeah.
Hamonic doesn't play for the team anymore, so you can't give it to him. Pullman, I don't think qualifies.
He played 40.
Yeah, but he did exactly what I expected him to.
Oh, so he didn't disappoint you.
I wasn't disappointed. I mean, I wasn't mad. I was disappointed, but I mean, I genuinely didn't expect all that much to come out of Pullman.
Dickinson?
It's got to be Dickinson. Yeah. I think 11 points this year. Supposed to be a good third liner. Chason was up there until a couple weeks ago. When he really turned it around.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, unsung hero. What are your thoughts on Tanner Pearson?
Yeah, I've seen him get some love. I think a tiny bit out of sight, out of mind. We haven't seen him in the last 3 weeks. But yeah, he was 0.5 points per game, 34 and 68.
Yeah.
I think he's been fine, but I find it hard. Oh, I guess you could argue he's unsung compared to PD, Horvat, Miller, and Besser, and even Garland. He's like the forgotten man of the top 6. So yeah,
I just forgot he existed, which is why I just brought it up.
And no, Edmund, we are not going to name ugliest player, or Peter, we're not going to name ugliest player.
No, we're not. That would be mean. Not most disappointing though. That wouldn't be mean.
No, that's not mean. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions here that we've got?
I saw one. It was addressed to me, but let's both answer it. It is. Where was it? Peter from about 5 minutes ago, because I think it's a pretty good question. Where the heck was it? Oh yeah, 10:49. But let's both do it. Yeah, I asked Clay, but how difficult was the 8-15-12 start from a fan perspective and a mental perspective? I'm going to give you 3 perspectives real quick. As a content creator perspective, I want Parker to jump in on this. It was tough in one way because we do better when the Canucks are winning, but it always gave us something to talk about. So that's one thing. From a mental and fan perspective, I'll put them together. So maybe I'm only doing 2 here. Without sounding spoiled, and I'm blessed to have season tickets. It is tough to go to games when the team isn't winning. It's actually, again, first world problems, but it's less. I'm not going to say it's not enjoyable, but it's certainly less enjoyable. I've had so much more fun going in the past couple months than I was the first 2 months of the season. So that's my perspective. I can only give you my perspective from that's why it's called my perspective, my view. Parker, what says you?
So from the content perspective, as someone who decided to do a live post-game show after Canucks games this year, the stretches of every single night being the exact same thing. After every single game, it was, they came out really slow and the penalty kill was absolutely useless and they couldn't score a goal and they allowed 3 power play goals against and they got destroyed. You run out of things really quickly. Obviously, again, you mentioned the numbers. It's about half after a loss.
Wow.
Half of the people tune in after a loss. Which is discouraging, right? It makes you feel like it's like, oh, I'm not doing enough. But obviously, people watch the game and they see the team lose and they're like, well, why would I want to keep thinking about this, right?
Yeah.
And then I got into the same boat. And that also made the losses worse because I still have that fan side where I am still just as disappointed as I normally would be. And there's this other thing of like, oh, now also I'm doing this other thing that's now less fun because the team's playing bad. which was unfortunate. From a fan perspective, I mean, we were talking about apathy in November, right? Like that was a general topic. They were like, do we like people have stopped caring already, and it's mid-November. And luckily they turned it around, but they almost didn't. They shouldn't have, in all odds. But it was, yeah, I didn't go to any games during that bad stretch. I mean, I
Right.
guess we couldn't, never mind, for a good
Yeah.
chunk of it. But yeah, it's way less fun to be in the building. There's less people in the building. There's less energy in the building. But these last couple weeks, it's been I went to 3 straight games because it was exciting and it's easy for me to get there. So I was like, oh, let's go to a few games, and it was super exciting in there. Everyone's having a good time, and the team's playing well, and it's fun hockey to watch.
Yep.
You get to the point where you're looking forward to games instead of being like, oh well, there's a Canucks game tonight, and here we go.
Right.
It's a bad stretch it's not fun for anybody.
That is such a good point about when the team is losing, and let's say you're committing to a post-game live stream, or I'm committing to one post-game video, but you want to watch the game, obviously, because you don't want to look like a doofus on your show. Then that's a 4-hour commitment from you, Parker. It's 2.5 to 3 hours for the game, and another 35 to 40 for your show, and shut it down, upload it. That's 4 hours, and 4 hours to dedicate to a thing that does not give you joy. This is totally going to sound like a first world problem, but we're being real here. That is life sucking, and it really is. And I know what you guys are saying. Well, no one says you have to have a channel. No, yeah, I agree with all that. No one says we have to do anything, but we want to do it. But it should be a lot more fun if it was 4 hours of joy.
And it's because our expectations were high, right? We went in thinking, oh, it's going to be a fun, good team, and then they weren't. We went in with the expectation of, man, they're going to win, 60% of the games, maybe 55% of the games, and the losses are going to be close and still interesting, and it'll have some stuff to talk about during them. But yeah, you talk about sort of, if you work, let's say you go to your real job, your day job, 8 to 4, and then there's that 3-hour gap from 4 to 7, where you can't really do much because it's only 3 hours, because you have to be ready to watch the Canucks game at 7. And then you do the stuff after, and by the time you're done, it's 10:30, 11. Right? It's a whole day. It makes it a whole day thing instead of, when I took that sort of that break, and again, I've done it a little bit lately. It's like, oh, I have so much time, right?
Totally.
But if the team was winning and playing excellent and really in that playoff push like they were, like 2 weeks ago, it's so invigorating. It's so much fun, because you start to get that sort of theory in your head of like, if they do this and they're in, and then think of how fun the playoffs are going to be, and how excited everyone's going to be. And we're not trying to get sympathy or anything. It's literally just, it's so much more fun when they win and when the games are interesting for everybody. You look at Canucks After Dark, right? If you and again, I sort of have them up here. You look at like the podcast numbers and the numbers here. And again, I'm not saying views are everything, but it's a good way to gauge how excited people are. You look at October 4th before the season starts, and they're pretty good. And then as they get into November, they tailspin until Jim Benning gets fired. That was our best one ever. And then they start to creep up a little bit, and then they sort of, ride the wave the rest of the way. And it's just, people don't care. And so we care less when they do worse. So I think that's sort of, hopefully things are better next year and they stay in it longer. I'm okay with them. Look, I'm not okay with them missing the playoffs. It's frustrating. But I'd much rather them miss the playoffs and it coming down to 3 games left in the season, like it has now, and not be, oh, it's November 17th and this team is done. Right? Because that's where we were at. There was 5 months left with no hope, and they pulled out some hope miraculously. But if they hadn't, I mean, what would we have been doing for the last 5 months?
And such a good point again, Parker. And we're going to you guys know that we like to take you behind the curtain once in a while. Parker and I were speaking at the end of November before Green got fired. We were actually saying, what are we going to do for our show? We knew we were going to do it, but we were truly, genuinely talking about how are we going to make it through this season without basically trying to beat each other up through the computer. Yeah, it was wow.
Yeah, I mean, if we come into a show, the Canucks lost all 3 games that week, and nothing else really interesting happened, like, there wasn't a trade or, like, even
Yeah.
a waiver pickup. It's like, well, what do we talk about? You look at, like, 650, right? And people are like, "Oh, you guys want the team to lose," and whatever. They gotta fill 12 hours of programming a day, and this is the only sports team in this market. The
Yeah.
Whitecaps are awful.
Yeah.
The Lions are awful, right? Like, there's one team in this market that was also awful. I mean, how are they going to do it, right? We just
Yeah.
have to fill an hour a week. They got to fill 12 hours a day, 60
Yeah.
hours a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so much easier when the team is good. So hopefully they're
Yeah.
good next year.
And I got an awesome one to end off on. Can you go to Edmond 10:56 p.m. Clay and Parker?
10:56.
Yeah. What game was your favorite that you went to the season? So I think I know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna give 3 for mine. I know he asked for 1. The first game after Boudreau got hired, the Canucks shut out the Kings 4-0. And that was kind of cool. That game was cool. I love Justin mentioned it. I love the 7-1 drubbing of Calgary on the Saturday night because we were in the black skate. That was when Chase Claypool said, "The Flames suck so bad." That was pretty
Yeah.
funny. And then actually a recent one, Toronto, because that's the first time that I've seen Toronto live and we beat them. So there's 3 for me that I really enjoyed this year.
Yeah, mine is I'm trying to find the date on it.
I know.
I it was November, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tuesday
it
night.
was
I know that. It was a Tuesday night.
3-2, November 2nd, Canucks and Rangers.
Yeah.
That was the Canucks were in sort of a tailspin. I was able to get 2 tickets, second row for $70 a piece. And that was the game where JT Miller scored in overtime to beat the Rangers, and that brought the Canucks to 4-5-1 on the season, and it was sort of like an early sort of must-win game. That one was excellent. My runner-up would probably be the Golden Knights game 2 weeks ago, 5-4 in overtime. I went with good people, and I
Yeah.
was stressed. Vegas scored 2 in the third period to tie it, and even when the Canucks scored in overtime, I barely cheered. I gave like I was like, "Yeah," and then I was stressed. And that's a good feeling because that means the game matters,
Yeah.
and that sort of sports anxiety that I love and I hate at the same time. That one's up there for sure.
That is so funny. I thought you were going to say it was the game against Vegas 2 weeks ago. I was with some great people and I was totally hammered.
I had a few. Absolutely. But
But that was a great
I
game.
was
That was
just
a great game.
stressed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tuesday nights have been good to you because both your games you picked were, is your favorite, the Vegas one and then Rangers one.
I
Was
guess
it the
so.
Columbus? Didn't you go to the Columbus one too? Where they
I
came?
don't
Oh no,
remember if I went to that one.
no, you did a stream that was massive. I remember that. That was
That
a
was my
Tuesday night as well.
Yeah, that was my best
Yeah.
stream. I don't think I went to that one though.
Yes. Yeah, that was
Maybe I
just.
did.
I don't think so.
No, I didn't.
And maybe it wasn't even Tuesday. I think I'm getting all my dates mixed up now.
It was a
Oh yeah,
Tuesday.
4/3, December 14th.
Yeah. I mean, it
We were
says I
down.
started that stream, I think at 10:46. So maybe I did go to that one.
Oh, and we were down 3-0 in that one.
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Okay. Good games though. Good games. So at least,
Yeah.
the moral of the story, at least we can, without stressing ourselves, we can name some games, some entertaining nights at the arena this season. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Tickets
Yeah.
are more than I thought they would be, so I might not be there. I expect them to be like $25 to get in the door, $30. It's like 60, 70.
Can you put up Bruce's last comment? That's awesome.
What about the Coyotes game that I bought tickets from Clay? The one where Quinn Hughes didn't play as of like right after I bought them off of him. Did they win that game?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
They
they
haven't
did?
lost the Coyotes this year. They beat them 5-1.
Oh, what am I talking about then? Okay, never mind.
But
Never mind.
I was frustrated because I gave you some heat because I was like, oh yeah, wow, you sell me the tickets that Quinn Hughes doesn't play. But no, they won that game.
What happened that game? 5-1?
5-1.
Miller with 2 points. Yeah. Oh, Ekman Larson with 3 assists. You saw you saw Noel Juleson get 2 assists.
That's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Also, Demko was the reason they won that game, a 972, 35-36. And Vejmelka wasn't good. Antoine Roussel did have 3 shots that game, though.
Okay.
So good for him.
Good for him, indeed.
All right. Is that it? Is that how we're wrapping it up?
That was a fun walk down memory lane. I think we're going to have a lot more time to do this over the next few weeks.
Yeah. So next week, May 2nd, that's the end of the season. So that's probably going to be, we'll probably talk about other teams a bit, playoffs, what playoff matchups we're excited for. I was thinking we would go over our preseason predictions, but we might not have time.
Yeah, we can save that.
So we might save that for a good June day when nothing else is happening. So that's, I think that's it for us. Clay, any parting words for the evening?
Well, I know, no, we're going to do our postmortem next week, but we appreciate your support as always. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm very fascinated, Parker, to see how the Canucks approach these 3 games, knowing that they're not really alive. Their playoff hopes are dashed, but the pride, the fatigue, all those things, who's playing in goal, does Quinn Hughes break the record? Does Miller get to 100 points? There are still a few storylines that we can follow. So as always, I'm sure the Canucks will provide us with entertainment and some talking points this week.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning or find it on your favorite podcast platform. Just type in Canucks After Dark. Give us a 5-star review. That would be extra cool of you. I haven't checked to see if there's any reviews lately. So get your reviews in. Other than that, enjoy the last week of Canucks hockey for the next 6 months or so. We've got a heck of an offseason ahead of us, but at least we get 2 months of playoff hockey. And then football season starts at least. So there's something going on. That's it for us. We will see you next week and have a good one.